Right. Welcome, everyone, to the Forget Perfect Leadership Series. And I'm so excited to have my friend Eden Ezell with us here today. Welcome, Eden.
Thank you. It's so great to be here, Vitale.
Yes. So, Eden is a former chief compliance officer, which is a pretty serious job, turned leadership expert, also one of my good friends. And so, I'm excited to talk today about all things leadership. And to kick us off, Eden, tell us a little bit about yourself and your leadership journey, whatever comes to you.
Yeah, I was my leadership journey has really been as much about personal growth as it has professional growth or accomplishment.
Okay.
I think there was a time when I thought leadership was about title and authority and control and results and
Yeah.
things like that. And now I know that it isn't. And it's really about listening and building trust and creating culture and all those sorts of things. But I, as you said, am a former chief compliance officer. I'm really sort of a curious lifelong learner. I've got degrees and certificates in law and business and compliance and privacy and executive coaching and all those sorts of things. I'm also like Auntie Mame. I'm the best aunt to the best niece and nephew that anybody could ask for.
You are. You are a great aunt. You
Oh,
are.
thanks.
So what does the term leadership mean to you?
Leadership for me is like a huge privilege. It's like a privilege and honor. Um, and it to me, it really means meeting people where they are and helping them be the best version of themselves rather than sort of putting on them like what I think as their leader they should be or should do. I think it's more about facilitating a journey for someone else rather than sort of an accomplishment for the leader.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So when you think about yourself as a leader, like what core values drive you?
So humility, authenticity, and curiosity are my core values. Period.
Okay.
End of story. Always
Tell me
have
more.
been.
Tell me more.
Um, Curiosity is a big one for me. Um, it really, from a leadership perspective, like thinking about curiosity and how it's driven my leadership, it helped me learn how to frame or reframe
Mhm.
and ask questions with curiosity and not judgment. So I am an attorney by education. And lawyers learn direct exam questions, tell us, what you did, and cross-examination questions, which is, isn't it true that?
Yeah.
So lawyers are always asking questions they already know the answers to. And so really training myself and reframing my brain to think about how to ask questions from a place of curiosity and not judgment was has been a real big part of my leadership journey.
Yeah. I love hearing that because, I worked with lawyers at law firms and led their marketing and business development departments for 8 years. And so curiosity was not really a thing. And so I love that that's something you've embraced, but also even beyond law. I think curiosity is something that leaders struggle to embrace, also because it requires time. Like it requires time and care, and the world's moving fast. And so to just pause and choose, curiosity over criticism, to choose curiosity and just asking questions, right? Also, asking questions and listening requires a level of vulnerability
It
because
does.
we may not know what the person's going to say. We may not have an answer to what they're going to say. So curiosity also requires, I think, a level of vulnerability, which is also, I think, a reason why people don't do it.
I think so too. I think curiosity also inherent in that is there's something that we don't know, right? We're acknowledging that we don't know something. I was laughing with some friends the other day and I said AI is like my new World Book encyclopedia because I can remember like what is that? And like going to the and
Yeah.
like reading and like figuring it out and like AI makes it a lot faster, but I think the ability for leaders and for all of us frankly to acknowledge that we don't know everything and to also put forth that no one expects us to know everything. So I think as a leader, being curious and exhibiting that also models for the teams and the people around them that it is okay to not know everything.
Right. And I think too, like embracing, not knowing actually like leads us to better information and like finding answers. Like, so for example, I was leading a trust breakout session at a huge conference, and a woman came up to me after and she was like, "What's the difference between a failure and a mistake?" And I
Ooh,
was like, "That's a really great question. I don't know, but I'll get back to you." And if I had been in perfectionism mode, I probably would have made up some BS. Let's just be real. Like, I probably would have made up some answer that probably would have worked. But I was like, you know what? I don't know. And so then I started researching it. And then I came up with my own definition. And now I'm submitting a TED Talk topic because of it. And now it's in like a main part of my training. And so had I not been willing to not know, like I wouldn't have researched and I would have continued to not know. And so it led me to like all these different things that just the power of not knowing, if you're willing to do the research and find an answer, can just give you, can open up so many other doors.
totally.
So it's, yeah, curiosity. Um, what do you think is, what do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions about leadership?
Well, I sort of alluded to it earlier. I think a big one is that leadership is about the leader. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not about the leader at all. I think also that, leadership is about action and authority and title, right? So it's about like directing things and telling people what to do, and it's none of that. It's actually the exact opposite. It's fostering growth in other people. It's not about, controlling what they do.
Right.
It's about helping them figure out how to be the best version of themselves. And that's the furthest thing from control that there possibly could be. And I think a lot of times in leadership circles, we can get stuck on title or authority or
Yeah.
power. And I think that's misguided.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so, one of the questions I like to ask is like how, like when we're so highly scheduled and we have a high level job that requires a lot of us, like how do we manage like our stress, but also our self-care? And as your friend, I know that you've been on a very like personal, like very invested in your self-care journey over the past year. Um, but I'd love to just know like how you've been making that a part of your life and a new routine for you and prioritizing it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say first off, I have not been very good at it historically. And I think we learn things when we're meant to.
Mhm.
Um, I've shared this with you in multiple various settings, and I'm happy to share it here. I think for me, there's an element of disconnection between my brain feeling stress and my body feeling stress. And I am learning that maybe I'm not unique in that particular set of circumstances. But if you were to ask me today, Eden, do you feel stressed? I would say no, I don't. Like I don't feel it because in my brain, like the rational part of my brain doesn't feel stressed.
Okay.
However, I know from my biometrics and from all, autoimmune diagnoses and all sorts of things that my body is absolutely stressed. And so I think a lot of times we stop and take care of ourselves when we feel like we need to. And I've really had to course correct on that and embed it into my schedule, whether
Yeah.
I feel like I need to or not. And
Yeah.
it includes movement. It includes, scheduling talks with great friends like you. It includes vacation. It includes, you know, taking 5 minutes before I jump onto the next Zoom call and do some box breathing or something like that. The best thing that ever came out of some of the outlook improvements during the pandemic in my brain were the 25 and the 50-minute default meetings.
Oh
Because
yeah.
building in those few minutes, while it might seem like, oh, I'll just go check my email, if you can be really purposeful about using those 5 or 10 minutes for yourself, it's a game changer, honestly.
Yeah. It's something I've been trying to figure out. Because and you and I have had a conversation about this, but I was talking to one of the one of my guides slash coaches, and I was like, I'd gone to Mexico by myself and I felt refreshed. And she was like, "That's great, but like the business and life you're building, you're not gonna be able to go on a retreat."
Hmm.
I mean, it might be literally once a year. And she's like, so you have to learn how to build retreat-like moments into your daily life.
Yep.
And I have been thinking a lot about that, like, and how I do it, and unsuccessfully, but like it's top of mind. I'm not gonna, I don't have all the answers. But I'm, thinking about it, like, how do I get more movement in, and how do I
Yeah.
um
Well, and listen, I mean, I live in New Orleans for those who don't know, and so it's 437 degrees here most of the year. I ordered, a treadmill
yeah,
for inside because I didn't want it's too hot to be the reason that I wasn't moving. So this morning I got up and, I was listening to a podcast and walking on the treadmill for
yeah,
45 minutes. And
yeah,
so I think that, getting creative about some of it and
yeah,
and also creating some non-negotiables, and I really build a lot of those into my calendar so that it reminds me, just like a meeting or a doctor's appointment, go for a walk, put on your shoes.
yeah,
um, that helps me.
yeah. I love that. So you were just saying that you were listening to a podcast on your treadmill. So
Yeah.
where do you find inspiration?
I find inspiration from others. I have some thought leaders that I really sort of love to listen to and learn from, and you're obviously one of them. I also am really inspired in nature. So when I do go outside,
Yeah, yeah,
I think I will take walks outside without a podcast, without music, just no other things, just
yeah,
me and nature. And I can get pretty inspired that way if I give myself a long enough time to decompress. I
right,
think that's the part. It's sort of like the warm up and the cool down that we
right.
talk about, but mine is mental. Mine's not physical. It's not the warm up to go for the walk, but it's sort of like it's the warm up to be present and then the cool down to re-engage in whatever I want to re-engage in.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. Yeah, and I think that's another thing I'm exploring, is like how to create more sources of inspiration and curiosity in my life, for sure. So that one of my main areas of focus, or my main areas of focus, are on perfectionism and trust. And we've talked a lot about building trust, but I'd love to first talk about, like, how do you think perfectionism really gets in the way of culture and leadership?
I think it primarily gets in the way because perfectionism in the mind of the perfectionist, there's only one right way for something to be done.
Right.
And that eliminates all the other opportunities for growth and enhancement and um and curiosity and innovation.
Right.
And so for me, I think it gets in the way. I think it also, and you and I've talked a little bit about this as well, like perfectionism is absolutely a symptom of procrastination, right? So it's like I'm gonna be paralyzed by perfection and I'm just gonna be stagnant. I'm not gonna grow at all. And so it to me, it's a hindrance.
Right.
I don't even know how long ago it's been. It's probably been 7 or 8 years because I am for sure a recovering perfectionist. I would like to say recovered, but I don't know that that's a thing. I'm
I
not
don't
sure that you ever get there. I think the active part of it is where I'm going to stick. But I did very purposefully remove the word perfect from my vocabulary.
Yeah.
And when I did, I really didn't know what was going to happen, but it really opened up a lot of things. And it would be a very throwaway use of perfect. Like, hey, let's meet for coffee. Perfect. Let's do that.
I
Perfect.
know.
And and I really just sort of peeled it back and got rid of it. And it really opened up a lot for me to realize that the growth is in the imperfection.
Right. Yeah, that's so funny. I've done the same things. It's like, oh, that's perfect, or like, oh yeah, let's get together. Perfect. And so if it's like plans with a friend, I'll say perfecto.
Exactly.
Because it's, just kind of the fun play on words. But yeah, it's like removing it. And then even when I'm talking with organizations, they're like, well, we do want things to be perfect. I'm like, no, you want things to be accurate.
Yeah.
if you're looking for accuracy, you're actually not looking for perfectionism. They're the same thing, except perfectionism adds the anxiety, the questioning, the overwhelm, the indecision.
Right.
And we just released our 2025 research on the impact of perfectionism in the workplace, and we're doing that executive briefing tomorrow. And some of the research is super interesting. It's like 88% of people spend part of their day overthinking their decisions.
Wow.
Like, what? That's like basically everyone. Um, and so for me, I mean, imagine like when people are overthinking their decisions, that stalls everything.
Yeah.
It's and it may not be, it may be just a little overthinking or it could be a lot. I mean, I know that like decision making is something I have been working on to be a more trustworthy leader instead of a perfectionist leader and being a more but I think we get stuck in our decisions because we don't trust our ability
Mm.
to make decisions effectively. And so I think that is I'm been putting together a training on self-trust. And a large part of it is we're working on decision making. Like, because to be in a, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, trusting yourself is a lot of what comes into play with decision making. Being okay with, I'm only 60% certain of this. Like,
Or I'm, I also think there's an element of perfectionism that I sort of replaced with like doing my best. I'm going to do my
yeah,
best. And my best today might be 110%, but my
right,
best tomorrow might be 45%, but it's my best that day. And
right,
so for me, it really sort of becomes like a personal thing rather than like maybe it becomes subjective rather than objective. And I
right,
think we treat perfectionism or perfection as objective, it's unattainable. There's no way because it's this thing that doesn't even exist actually.
right. But it's also like when we talk about decision making, and then we're talking about the difference between a mistake and a failure. Where I've seen organizations struggling the most in terms of like areas of to have more trust is like increasing their capacity for mistakes and failures, right? So that also plays into decision making. So increasing your capacity to make the wrong decision and also being in a space where it's safe to make the wrong
Yeah.
decision. I mean, be thoughtful, right? It's a spectrum of decision.
It is, but in the absence of trust, I mean,
Right,
perfectionism is like, you know,
right, right.
yeah, I mean the trust part of it for me is really the undercurrent of all of it. It has to be.
Yeah,
Because if there's no trust, then there's no connection. And if there's no connection, then there's no psychological safety or understanding that mistakes are okay or that, we can learn from our mistakes or things like that. I mean, and so to me, trust is really the foundation.
yeah. And when I was thinking about the difference between a failure and a mistake,
Yeah.
so mistakes are unintentional,
Yep.
failures are intentional.
Oh, that
Isn't that cool?
is very cool. Yeah,
Because
you're
most
right.
people, when I ask, like, tell me what you think a failure is, they think like people think failure is like the like worst degree of a mistake.
Correct.
Like
Yes.
basically
I
a
am a
failure,
failure. I
yeah,
failed.
like failure is like I might lose my job level of mistake.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, 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 they're actually two different, completely different things. And so imagine if we started reframing that in the workplace. And there's an entrepreneur I know, and she gives her key leaders, she has failure goals for them every quarter.
Really.
Yes, they're supposed to have 3 failures a quarter.
I That freedom
Yeah.
is incredible. I love
And
that.
right. And normally, like just even going for the failures, you don't even have them. But it's like because failure is experimenting. Failure is we're trying something new, we're being innovative,
Yeah.
moving forward fast. And there's again varying levels of mistakes and there's varying levels of failure. But if we just started reframing how we
Right.
talked about it, it could be really powerful.
Totally. That is really fascinating.
Yeah. So that's the TED talk I'm submitting.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited.
Anyway.
I've already voted.
um, so yeah, so um I'd love to know, like, what do you think are some of the most important? Like, the world is moving fast. We know this faster than ever. What do you think are some of the most important leadership skills right now?
Hmm. I think listening, excuse me, I think listening is a big one and not active listening. listening to understand is a big one, because when you are quiet enough to listen to understand, you hear obviously what's said, but you then have the ability to use your curiosity to pick up on the things that are not said.
Right.
And that's where the magic really happens when you're leading teams, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because you can ask different questions. Tell me about this. What does that mean? How do you feel about this? So I think that's definitely a big one. And then I was talking to a friend of ours the other day about empathy, and she asked me to define empathy, which no one really had ever asked me to do. And it's humanity. It is base level humanity. It is, and I think I believe really firmly that empathy and listening to understand are the two key critical components for leaders, whether they're new leaders or very well tenured leaders, because as you said, everything is moving so fast. We have a lot of AI in the world where there is no listening, right? And so I think that key human condition of listening to understand is really, really important, especially as we think about like where our teams are and what they're worried about and what they're going through. Those are the two big ones for me.
Yeah. Well, I would say that empathy is curiosity in action.
Oh, I love that.
You
That's
know,
great.
like for me, uh,
Yep.
when I think about how do I trigger my empathy, I'm like, choose curiosity over criticism. Like
Yep.
it's the easiest way for me to get into empathy mode. I mean, I think empathy naturally comes to both of us, but for people who doesn't come naturally to, I always say like just choose curiosity over criticism. And so I think
Yeah.
empathy is almost, there's nuances to it, but almost curiosity in action.
I think that's beautiful. I think the other for people, thank you. I think that for people for whom empathy maybe doesn't feel as hardwired, slow down. If
Right.
you slow down, it will come.
Right.
Truly.
Right. And I think too, like to be empathetic towards others means you have to have a level of empathy for yourself. And it just requires
Yes.
a level of vulnerability. Like tapping into someone's story may trigger your story. So
Absolutely.
I think also we avoid it sometimes because it's like I don't have space for vulnerability right now, or I don't have space to, you know,
That's true.
like truly, it's like I gotta get the work done. Like I to, hear someone's real story, and then maybe I get emotional because I'm thinking about my story. So
Right.
it's I think there's that too, as humans, not
I
creating.
think so. My executive coach teaches at a local university, and she asked me to come speak to her class recently. And
Mhm.
her research is around connection, and so connection with self, with others, and with your organization. And so I really sat down and thought about it, and I said, okay, well, like if you've got connection here, what's underneath it? Well, the first level underneath it is trust, and the next level underneath it is kindness. And to your point, like that applies in those categories to yourself. If you're not kind to yourself, and you don't trust yourself, it is going to be incredibly hard for you to be kind with and trust others and find connection with others. And so I think it really becomes, I'm not a huge algebra fan, but I think there's an equation
Yeah,
that fits that really starts internally with
yeah,
ourselves.
yeah. Speaking along the lines of trust, this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Is like this idea: is trust given or is it earned? And I'm in the camp of trust is given, but a lot of people are in the camp of trust is earned. And so I'd love to have your perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely an extend trust gal. So given, I think it is given and extended. I think earning trust, but I understand earning trust. I think
Yeah,
people may feel a certain kind of way, and so I think it starts with kindness. And I think if somebody feels like they want you to earn their trust, starting with kindness is the right place to start.
yeah. But think about it. If you have to earn trust, I mean, you're starting in a deficit.
I agree.
And, I mean,
Yeah,
there's nothing to aspire to. Like if you give someone trust, then they have like a standard to aspire to. And I think as leaders, like, again, this is where the mistakes and failures come into place. Like, there are varying degrees of mistakes. I think what often happens too is like, well, someone makes a mistake and then you're like, well, I got to watch out for that mistake. I mean, what if they make it again? And it's like, well, did you have the right performance conversation?
Right.
Right? Is it a moment? Is it a pattern? Is it, so I think too, like, again, all of these things play into each other. But yeah, I mean, for me, the people who trust is earned, I think like they've experienced a lot in their life where trust has been
Yeah.
broken. And it's sort of, it's like hardwired in them. It's like, no, trust has been broken too much, so I'm not giving it.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think that it sort of comes back to, we leaders
Mhm.
lead individuals. All
Yeah,
those individuals might be on a team, but you're leading individual people. And so meeting them where they are, right, makes leadership about them, not about the leader. And to your point, like if somebody is in a space where earning trust is sort of where they start, that's their starting line, then the leader has to work a little bit harder.
right, right. But it prevents you from truly connecting with people. It prevents, I mean, even like,
Do you think it prevents it or do you think it delays it?
um, I think both. I mean, definitely delays. I mean, I would say delay is the first thing, and then it could prevent it. But
Yeah.
yeah, yes, that's a very good curiosity question. Yeah, I would say delays, but it's just been interesting too. Like as I talk to people about that, it's a question I love to ask. And the trust is earned camp. I feel like they like. I mean, I'm same thing. I'm a trust is given person. I'm not moving to the trust is earned camp. We're all in one camp or the other. So it's interesting to me. And that doesn't mean that trust doesn't need to be rebuilt. That doesn't mean that um,
No.
but I think when we have the right conversations with people about mistakes they've made, or I'm saying a failure that is a high level failure, maybe, or there's lots of domino effect of that failure.
Yeah.
Um, I think if we're having the right conversations, then it's not a repeated thing.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's a really good point. And listen, I mean, I think presumably, hopefully you only have to earn the trust of someone once, that, I mean, hopefully it doesn't break and then you have to recover or repair. Because I think that can be hard. And I think sometimes, depending on which camp you're in, if you're on trust is given or trust is earned, the recoveries are also super different.
Right. Most definitely. Most definitely. This has been fascinating. I could talk all day about
I
leadership.
know.
We have like
I
a
know.
part two. Um, so I'd love to close us with maybe a piece of advice or like a mantra you're living by in this season of your life. I feel like you and I are similar. Like there's some sort of like kind of guiding thought or idea based on seasons of our lives. So I'd love for you to share whatever that is for you.
Yeah, it has been the same one, honestly, for a while, and I think it because it fits a lot of different situations. I don't know that this is attributable to Brene Brown, but she is who I heard say it,
Mhm.
like in the first couple of months of the pandemic lockdown situation in 2020. And it was perspective comes from experience. And
Yeah.
it really sort of just I actually physically had to sit down when I heard her say it because I thought, wow, we walk around with all these perspectives of what we think and what we think others should do or think, but their experiences are very different. And so I think right now, focusing on perspective comes from experience. Like every experience is a new opportunity to shape or change or edit a perspective.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Eden, thank you so much for your time today. I'm excited
Thank
for
you.
everyone to listen to this, and I'm just really grateful for our friendship. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vitale.